hate public speaking, so they were aiming for about 2. I'll spare you the whole speech again, but in my list of people to thank, as per usual, that's why we do this twice, I left a few folks out who are vital to this event happening, other than the people who allow us to host here and support the band programs, from central office to principals. We got to feed the kids, and the 2 groups who take care of feeding the kids, this is not me. I just pick up the phone and place some orders and say, hey, give me more pizza than you can fit in your car. The Abingdon High School band boosters took care of feeding your kids today and took care of them, and some of those parents came in and helped, and I apologize, I forget your name, but we had a special guest today who came down to help. It's the president for Patrick Henry, the band booster program for Patrick Henry. She came down to visit, and she even hopped in and helped sling pizzas and bring some foods to the kids. So Washington County, as I said, thank you. Washington County, as I said before, is a special place, and it's why, if you look through the back of the program, today's not about us, but I always remember growing up when I did county band and whatnot, I've always wondered about the other directors. We're all in here, and you can read that if you want to, but it's a special place, and as you read that, you'll see how many years of service some of us have. We're all the way from, most of you is 3 or 4 years, up to 29 years. Just in Washington County, if that tells you what a special place this is for everybody to work, but especially for the arts. But the band boosters and those folks, it's one big band family, and thank them for pitching in to help. The blue lights that illuminate as you walk in and make it feel like we're in a much more regal environment than high school. This microphone turning on and off without having to, flip a switch. We have Mr. Maloney and Mr. Hay in the back. They're lit up. You can wave at them and say thank you back there. They control all that. When you go in that booth, it's like an airplane cabin. I don't know what to do to not get a disco show when these lights go on. So they run all that, and they take care of that, and those are a few extra folks that we need to say thank you to. And we even have a parent, Mr. Collins, who's one of my band parents back here. He's behind the scenes. He's taking pictures, and he's not just taking pictures of the Abingdon High School band students. He's taking pictures of everybody, and he's really great at sharing those. He's a great photographer. He's great at sharing those with all the band programs, so that filters down to you all for your families to have, or for whatever your band program or your band director does for those. So there's a lot of people who make today possible. I just sort of pick up the phone and make phone calls and say, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, and those are the people who really run this event. Without further ado, the next guest, as I mentioned before, is a product of Washington County. He was born in Michigan and landed in Washington County at some point along the way. He's an alum of Abingdon High School, and you can read through that program. He's gone on to do a massive laundry list of different things, from marine band musician and conductor to a railroad operator or conductor, I forget the proper term, but he worked in the railroad system, and now is a fairly renowned emerging composer. He's had pieces performed by the President's Own, the Marine Band, several other military groups, and one of his pieces, you can read in the program and he'll tell you about it, is a world premiere of a piece that we are performing first. It was written for this event that you're at today, so that's really special for the kids. I've been doing this, I'm 32, so I haven't been here 29 years like some of the old folks who were with us, but I've been playing since I was 12 years old. I've done one world premiere in my entire life, and that's a really special thing that some of us may not realize, them or you all, but that's a really special thing to be a part of. That doesn't come along very often, let alone the opportunity to work with and have the person who wrote that on the podium with you. So that's been really special for these kids, and I think they also, although they're in high school, and they will be lucky if we can get a head nod, but I think they've enjoyed themselves as well, and talking to them, they've had a really good experience, and it's, as I said, neat when you have not just a composer, but someone who grew up in this building, performed on this stage, and was part of this county band as well. Without further ado, Mr. Onsby Rose.
Good evening. I won't be able to talk much because I don't have much of a voice left. And for those that know me, know that that's probably a good thing. I do want to say a couple of words first about the next piece that we're going to play. About a year ago, maybe a little less, Mr. Collins called me on behalf of the band directors here and asked me if I would serve as the clinician for the all-county band. I said, absolutely, I would love to. It's been almost exactly 25 years to the day since I sat right there in the trombone section as a senior high school student myself. So the honor of being able to come back and work at my alma mater was tremendously huge to me. Well, then it even got better. He said, well, what would you think about writing a piece? I have just recently, in the last couple of years, gotten into the composing thing and started writing music, and for some crazy reason, people seem to like it. So I thought, this is great too. I said, yeah, I'd absolutely love to. So I started thinking, what do I want to write? Well, I didn't want to write a piece that was just, general music. I knew I wanted to write something about the Appalachians and the Blue Ridge area, something that would be meaningful to the students on stage and hopefully to those of you in the audience. If you're familiar with me and know the last couple of years, my composing relies heavily on prayer. So I spend a tremendous amount of time at home praying and thinking, and just waiting for God to offer me what I needed as far as the inspiration to write this piece. And he did, as he always does. And again, I told the students earlier this weekend, I think I'm just the lucky person that he gives the notes. There's no reason that I should be writing music. I've never taken a composing lesson in my life, but my mentor, David Maslenka, who actually wrote the first piece that you heard on the program, he encouraged me to look into this. I've worked with him on my dissertation during my doctoral studies. So I prayed, God gave me the notes, and what came out of it was a piece that I ended up calling Scenes from Blue Ridge. What the piece is supposed to relay to you musically is 4 different scenes that you might see anywhere here in Abingdon or Damascus or Bristol or wherever it is that you're from. The first one is, the first section is entitled Sunrise, and it's supposed to bring thoughts of the sun coming up over the mountains. I've been very lucky, and I've traveled all over the world in my 43 years of life, and I've never found a more beautiful place than about 7:30 in the morning, looking out my parents' back window or sitting on their back porch and watching the sun come up over the mountains. So that's what the first section is supposed to hopefully relay to you. The next section we get into is called About the Town, and it's supposed to be light and fun, and you might, just feel like you're out walking around, and then it changes into a minor key, so it sounds a little bit ominous. I thought maybe that's a dark cloud coming over, and we get a little rainstorm, and then it clears back up. So you're just out talking to folks around town. The next piece is called The County Fair, and it's probably the most fun one. The kids and I have really enjoyed working it up. There's some percussion stuff in it that you really enjoy hearing, and it's supposed to be just fun. You're at the county fairgrounds, you're enjoying the fair, you can hear the hustle and bustle of the city outside the fair. You hear a police car or an ambulance go by, just all these different sounds that you might experience. And then the final section is called Evening Falls. And when I wrote that, during my prayer time, this thought or picture came to me in my head of me lying in my bed, again, back in my parents' house 25 plus years ago. I could lie in my bedroom and look out the window, and I could see the darkness grab the scenery again, for it swallows the land. And it made me think of me seeing that, and it has a bit of a loud section where you're fighting sleep because you're thinking about all of the great things that have happened during the day, and then your body finally gives in. And as the piece ends, you fall softly to sleep to get your rest so that you can get up and do the same thing again the next day. This piece is very special to me, and I think it's been very special for the students here as well. There's about 35 bands around the nation that helped commission this piece. They paid me to write it, but this band was the one it was written for. These students were the ones that were in my mind when I was writing. Hopefully it should get numerous performances throughout the nation, and actually I had a couple of bands abroad that bought it as well. But this will be the standard. I told the students, most people when they hear a work, they go listen to the one, if they can find one, of the composer conducting it, because that's probably the closest interpretation. So I hope that you enjoy this piece that was written especially for the Washington County All-County Band, and especially for you, called Scenes from the Blue Ridge. 5 children of my own, so I know how difficult it is. 2 of mine are in their teenage years too, so I know how absolutely difficult that is. But there's obviously some amazing things going on at home, because if they weren't, these students would not be like they are. They're kind, they're giving, they're incredibly hardworking, and they make me absolutely proud to be from Abingdon and from Washington County. So I think all of them, everyone in the band, they deserve one more round of applause. Before we move on to our last piece, I've got a whole bunch of people that I should thank. I'm going to run through them very quickly. I know that you're all ready to get out of here, probably go have dinner. The first ones are the band directors here in Washington County, Will Shell, Mr. Collins, Pete Markham, and who am I forgetting? Oh my gosh, see, this is the reason I don't say names. Logan, that's right. Logan's one of my best friends. That's the reason I forgot it. I want to thank them tremendously for having me back here. This has been truly one of the highlights of my year, is to be able to come here and stand on the stage on the podium where I sat at one point back here in the drumline section. So thank you to all of them and all of the middle school directors as well. I'd like to thank all of you for these amazing students that you have raised. And one final person, I also need to thank my parents as well as my wife, Jessie, who is not with me this weekend, but without her, she's at home with all of our kids and letting me run around and make music. But also my mom and dad, they're here in the audience tonight. And also Mr. Gary Holly, whom I think is out there somewhere. Gary was my band director here at Abingdon my 11th and 12th grade year. And us band directors know, and the students know, band directors can make some pretty incredible marks on students as they come through their program. And I am the product of Abingdon High School and Mr. Holly as my director. I would not be doing what I'm doing had it not been for him instilling a love of music in me. So I definitely want to make sure to say thank you for that. The last piece we're going to play is by Claude T. Smith, an old composer from back in the 50s. It is based on a hymn called God of Our Fathers, and I think you will enjoy it. Thank you all so much for coming out this evening. Thank you for letting me borrow your children and have their time for the last 2 days. And just thank you for being here and having an amazing band program and school system here in Washington County. Thank you.
you.